It's Craig.
It's Craig. Welcome everyone back to another episode, the 8th episode of Rules, Jewels, and D&D Schools. I'm honestly surprised. You know what? I'm impressed we've just kept it going even this 8 weeks.
It's going to be a real thing.
It's going to be a real... Rules, Jewels, and D&D Schools is a real boy.
It's a real boy.
It's a real boy. All right. Well, we got a few small topics for today. I want to do some follow-up from the last episode. Last episode, we talked in extent about putting a tiny hut on a wagon to have a movable little protective fortress. But I learned some things about tiny hut between then and now. Mainly, the biggest thing about tiny hut is that it has a floor. It's hemispherical, not a dome, as confirmed by old mate J Craw on Twitter and various like D&D forums, not just Reddit, and then like Giant in the Playground, things like that.
I don't like it having a floor.
You don't like it having a floor?
No.
Why not?
It's like it's not as cool. I think of it as just a dome.
Just as cool.
And it doesn't have a floor, but the only people who like would know to exploit that are other wizards who can just dispel it anyway.
No, dude. Anybody could dig a hole underneath it if it didn't have a floor.
Yeah, but no one knows. It doesn't look like it doesn't have a floor. It goes all the way to the ground.
Okay. It's like the dome that I cast in Friday's campaign during that big fight.
Yeah.
It knew immediately to dig underneath it.
That was a god.
Yeah, it would have been real nice to remember to tiny hut it, you know?
If I'd have
said, fine.
It's a hemisphere, not a dome. It has a floor. It would have been like, we could have been safe in there forever. Well, at least 24 hours.
I don't understand why hemisphere makes it have a floor.
Because a hemisphere has a floor. A hemisphere is a skilled shape. It's a dome with a floor. We talked about this
last time, though. Like, if you cut a tennis ball in half, it's still 2 hemispheres.
I don't think it is. I think it's a different... Like, it's a dome. Domes don't have floors. Hemispheres have floors. Regardless of what the semantics or all those things mean, it has been confirmed Tiny Hut has a floor, which
Not
means...
my tiny huts.
It's stationary wherever you cast it. It has a floor. You could cast the thing in the middle of the sky. You could cast it off the edge of a cliff. You could cast it anywhere you please now that it has a floor because you can stand inside on the floor.
This is why it doesn't have a floor.
Like, if it didn't have a floor, then my favorite spell in the game, Mold Earth, just became even better.
Sure.
It needs a floor. It has a floor, so...
Why does it have to have a floor?
Because it makes it so much easier to exploit.
That's why it doesn't need a floor.
Oh, crap. Let me change my microphone over. I was so excited to talk about how this had a floor.
I hate that. I don't think I'm going to have it have a floor in my campaign.
I mean, you can do whatever you want in your campaign. Rules as written.
Buttery now.
Oh, I know. So there's going to be the first few seconds where I sound like a potato, and then all of a sudden I sound a lot better. Yeah, it's like rules as written. It has a floor. You could cast it in the sky. You could cast it anywhere. It's basically impenetrable. So if you have a minute's notice and you're not fighting a wizard, you could avoid every fight in the game. Avalanche coming to kill you.
Tiny hut.
As long as you got a minute, tiny hut. You're in it. Boom.
There's an avalanche coming. Make a survival check. Natural 20. It looks to be about 1 minute and 3 seconds away.
Have you seen that video that's circulating around of that dude? At the beginning of the video, he's like filming a mountain, right? And this avalanche starts, and you're like, "Dang, that's a pretty wild, big avalanche." And then it keeps coming down the mountain. He's way back. And it keeps coming down the mountain. You're like, dang, that thing's still going. Probably about to slow down, though. Nope. Still not slowing down. Okay. Wow, that's still coming. Is that going to hit him? Oh, it does totally hit him. And it comes up it comes up the hill he's on and hits him. And you're like, oh my God. And that was like a full minute away. He could have been like, just in case, baby. Tiny hut.
Let me sit down with my books.
Let me sit down and cast this tiny hut, dude.
Actually, though, you got to have a spell slot for a minute. It's got to be 2 minutes if you're casting it as a ritual.
It's 10 minutes for a ritual, right?
I thought it was 1 minute plus. Is it not?
No, rituals are 10 minutes.
10 minutes plus? Really?
So just 10 minutes, I believe. You can look up the ruling right now.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up while you're talking.
We always talked about it being, we always ruled it as 10 minutes. That might be
it's technically it's an extra amount of time plus the normal casting time. I don't remember what that.
I'm pretty sure it's 10.
Okay, take that dragon for example. We're inside this dome. Big god dragons flying in. Or we don't even need the dome. Big, huge dragon. You see it on the horizon. You're like, that dragon's probably coming to kill us.
I hope
10 minutes longer. Confirmed. So
10
minutes
longer.
Minutes.
Yeah. Time to cast a tiny hut and avoid getting killed by that dragon.
I need 11 minutes. Please hold.
Or 1 minute. You can use a spell slot. Jeez.
Especially because you can make the outside look like the surrounding area.
Yeah. You put it in a bush and make the outside of it look like a bush. No one would ever see you, dude. It's like the ultimate.
Unless they had detect magic, in which case they would totally see it.
Well, can't win them all. But
you've been playing Metal Gear Solids too much. You hide in the boxes.
Hide in the boxes, yeah. Make it look like a cardboard box from the outside.
Nothing to see here.
That's what you put on top of your wagon. So
yeah. You just make it look like wood when it's on your wagon, so it just looks like a weird domed wagon. Or sorry, hemispherical wagon.
It says dome in the spell description.
Yeah, but in the top, in what it says the shape is, it says hemisphere. And that supersedes according to Jeremy Crawford. So this also makes the wagon design a lot easier, right? Your wagon doesn't have to be as heavy. So you wouldn't have need as many horses to pull it because you wouldn't need a floor in your wagon because the dome's the floor. You just have a net, right? Like a big circle with a net, and you chuck all your crap in the net, cast the dome on top. You're in it. Boom.
Wait, if it's immobile though,
I tried to find an answer on that. If you put a tiny hut on a wagon, could you pull it? I tried to find an answer for that, and
I would say no. It says immobile, so that means you cannot move it.
It doesn't mean like, but
it's always relative to what? Relative to the planet, because you cast it and then it's gone.
I'm saying, yeah. So like,
so I would say relative to the planet is
that's where I was about to go. It's immobile, but the planet's moving around. And it doesn't move when you it doesn't dig through the earth if you're on the side. It doesn't just like bore a tunnel through.
It's just a big spiral.
Yeah.
That's like the
dash that goes out into space.
The best attack in D&D is tiny hut.
Tiny hut.
Hold on, I'm gonna do some calculations.
Yeah. Let me do some math real quick. If this enemy's on the other side of the planet and we cast this here, it'll push the ground underneath him out into space. It could also be the best fast travel tool ever, right? The Earth spins super fast. You just like get in there and you just fall asleep and you wake up, you're in a new spot. You're like, oh, sick.
Well, you would be in space if you waited that long.
Yeah, I guess.
Like you would have a split second.
No, it's stationary. So like it doesn't move. No, it doesn't move positionally. If you cast it in the sky, like it stays there.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Like, if it's immobile relative to the planet, then technically you'd be able to cast it in the sky.
I think the wagon thing is DM discretion at this point. I couldn't find a clear answer, and I guess no one's built up the courage to be like, "Hey, Jeremy Crawford, if I cast a magic hut on a wagon, can I pull it around?"
Here you go. How about this? It doesn't have a floor, but you can cast it upside down in the sky.
Oh, and sleep in it like a hammock?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
It wouldn't be very comfortable. You
have to make an Arcana check though to figure out how to cast it upside down.
No, you cast it. Or if that's the case, then it's the ultimate 10-minute lounge tool. You cast it like this, so you can sit in it like
those egg chair things.
Yeah, cast it like a floating egg chair and just like hang out in it all day. Your party needs a bath while you're out in the wild. Cast it fully upside down and fill it with water, and then heat it with burning hands.
Yep.
Why do you have to heat it? The inside temperature is whatever you want it to be.
Yep.
You're right. I can make the inside scalding hot for like 10 minutes and then cool it down and get in.
Lehman's fairly large hot tub.
Fairly large hot tub. It would be a really big hot tub.
It would
Small
be a big
house,
hot tub.
small house, huge hot tub. That's the difference. There's a lot of. It's a spell that went from in my head like I'm gonna cast this and sleep in it to. It has a multitude of uses.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of spells like that, not just that one. Mold Earth is potentially. You know what? We were talking about Hut, but let's talk about Mold Earth now. I'm going to drop this one on you out of nowhere since we're talking about abusing dumb spells. Mold Earth is potentially the most like cost-effective spell in the game. It's cantrip. You can cast it as much as you want. And I know you hate all my money-making schemes in D&D, but you could totally make a lot of money with
You
know
can make
what?
a lot of money with any of these. They're all magic.
Wait.
They're magic.
I know it's what's so great about it. Is there anything special about a wizard in D&D current D&D lore? You don't have to. Anybody can learn a spell, right?
I mean, if that's your class. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the fact that wizards exist. I haven't read into the lore all that much.
Oh, as far as I don't know about the lore. I know nothing about the lore.
Sorry, all you lore people out there. Yeah, I don't read any of the fluff for D&D. That's why I like to do what I do, I think. If you can teach anyone a cantrip, and a cantrip isn't hard to learn, Mold Earth is the cantrip. I would have like a little school, like Mold Earth certification school, because you could till a field super fast. 10 people with Mold Earth could till a field in like an hour, like a whole field with Mold Earth. You could create canals in the dirt extremely easy. You could dig a little cave for your party to sleep in safely. You could Mold Earth is great, dude.
Yeah, Mold Earth is.
I'm gonna look it up again just so I can see it.
Like rules is written, it is probably the most powerful spell under level like 3 or something.
Yeah, so many uses, dude.
Imagine how easy it would have been for David to dig that pit if he had Mold Earth.
Yeah, if he had Mold Earth, dude, he could have dug a whole trench in the amount of time it took him to dig one hole and toss a spear.
That's another thing. You could dig a hole real deep. And then have them drop in it. And then once they drop in it, you mold some earth and throw it on them. Done. I win.
Yeah, you could get a... yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could. 5 foot. You can move it 5 feet away. Not enough force to cause damage. Shapes or colors or both to appear in the dirt or stone. That's useful. Creating images or shaping patterns will last an hour. The dirt or stone you target on the ground. You cause it to become difficult terrain. Like, oh my god, I love Mold Earth so much. It's the most abusable spell under level 3, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my god, it's so great.
Whose idea was this spell? Someone's like, what would be really cool if you could just like
move
change dirt, like real quick, lots of dirt over and over again.
There was a
no one would ever think to abuse that.
No one would ever think to abuse being able to move dirt around. Someone with no imagination came up with this spell. No, someone with like a spell quota. You got to come up with at least 5 spells today, Frank. And he's like, okay,
5 spells. I'll give you 5 spells.
He's
Mold
like,
Earth, shape water.
I was thinking more like he's done 4 so far, and he's like, one more by the end of the day. And he like looks around, he looks out his window, and he's like, it'd be kind of cool to move some earth with magic, I guess. He writes it down. He's like, no one's ever going to take this. And then everyone's like, Mold Earth. Oh, man. Mold Earth. Fantastic, guys. You could, like, the creating shelters thing. Oh, my God. So good. Clean stuff up. Clean something out. Excavate something. It's fantastic.
Mold
It's
Earth
like,
and Shape Water were in the same book.
Is Shape Water a cantrip?
Yep. Super
I haven't thought about Shape Water. Oh wait, yeah, I have. Let me see. Is this the one that you can freeze? Can you freeze the water?
Yes, you freeze the water, provided there are no creatures in it. The water unfreezes in 1 hour.
Oh, so you could break locks and stuff with it.
Yeah, that was your.
Yep.
You're like, what can I do with that? I'll break locks. And all the
Yeah,
games are like, just pick the lock. Come on.
Pick this lock, and you're
That's
like,
whenever your DM goes, all right, everything has a freaking trap.
Yep.
Good luck.
Everything is magical now. Good luck doing anything ever.
stop being unfun, dude. What's the difference between me filling a lock with water and freezing it to break it and like picking it? There's
a dice roll involved.
yeah, but it's a creative use of mechanics, right?
Yeah, it is the first time, and then every subsequent time it's like, why do I even have locks on anything ever? There's no chance of failure. It's just boring.
It's an easy thing to fix, right?
Yeah,
it breaks the lock. Magical. Nope, it breaks the lock, but it doesn't unlock it.
Oh, so now you're just hosed and you can't unlock it. It's broken. You can't even pick it now.
You have to let them do it a couple of times. Then you do that once, and then they probably don't do it anymore. I don't think people have the like staying power for like, I'm going to try to fill this one with water now, and now this one.
Maybe that'll be the roll. Do you break the lock and not unlock it, or do you?
Yeah, that's the roll, right? You don't have a lock pick in your group, but you got someone with shape water. They pour the water in, they freeze it. Like, I'm going to try this. You freeze it, and you roll, and there's like a 50-50 chance whether it breaks the lock and unlocks it, or breaks the lock and makes it impossible to get off.
But then you can just like freeze it really cold, and then the metal becomes brittle enough to just shatter, right?
No, because it's freezing water. It's not making it absolute zero.
It doesn't
it's
say.
Not liquid nitrogen.
How cold the frozen water is.
If we're getting into this kind of thing,
the amount of Celsius exactly, no colder.
Yeah, exactly. It just goes to that. But if we're getting into this kind of stuff, changing it from whatever temperature it is, room temp or like 80 degrees if you're outside, to instantly frozen, yes, it would break every time because that is an extraordinary amount of energy like taking place. It would just like that and blow it up. It wouldn't like freeze slowly and break it in a.
It's like an Alien 3. When the alien comes out of the lava, still alive, and they're like, "Holy crap! It came out of the lava!" And then they freeze it and it explodes.
Oh my god! What do they freeze it with? I guess I haven't seen Alien 3.
I don't remember. It was like a liquid nitrogen. You know, they loved liquid nitrogen during that time period, so I'm sure that was what it was.
The liquid nitrogen. That's the best part of that one Jason movie. Jason.
Yeah, where he freezes the person's face
her head in that thing, and then she pops out. She's like, boom,
smashes her face off.
Terminator 2 used it. Everyone was using it.
Liquid nitrogen is so cool, dude. It's super cool, actually.
All right.
So yeah, we can't. As much as I like to bring in like real world stuff into D&D, if you're gonna bring in real world stuff to like counter the lock freezing thing, like it would actually explode anything it was inside of any container. If it froze that fast, it wouldn't have time to like stretch and expand. It would just go everywhere. wouldn't last. You could break anything that way. Wait, there's a limit to the quantity, right? Oh, you can change a 5-foot cube of water.
Which is a ton of water.
That's so much water.
Holy crap.
Okay. All right. So here's the trap. You ready?
You ready? Here we go.
Well, here we go. You you're going to be in a fight in an area. You hang buckets of water all over the place. Like maybe like a barrel of water, because that fits in a 5-foot cube. And then like as they move around the battlefield, you're like, there he is. He's in place. Bam! Freeze that. A frozen barrel of water would weigh so much, it would fall and crush them to death. How'd you kill that dragon? He stuck his head in, and I dropped a bunch of frozen barrels on him.
Next campaign, the whole thing is just everywhere's a drought.
No water anywhere.
If you find any water, you better drink it or you're gonna die.
No. I just thought about better. I need to look up a spell real quick.
We needed that control water whenever we were going across that river. Freeze a step, freeze a step,
yeah.
freeze a step. All right, we made
it. Create and destroy water. One action. How big? Oh wait, this is Roll20, not D&D Beyond. I need to see on D&D Beyond. A 30-foot cube.
Yeah, that stuff is like It's
Okay.
It's like these spells are written for people who don't know anything about like physics.
Well, they're not thinking about physics, right? They're thinking
Exactly.
about
That's what I'm
D&D.
saying. It's like
So you go. Combo breaker. You ready?
okay, right.
You got this enemy. Oh man, he's big and beefy. We're having a hard time. You do the combo. Creates water over his head. You freeze it. Bam! Huge chunk of water falls on him and kills him. You don't even have to set up the trap, dude. Wait, and shape water is a cantrip. A sorcerer could do this in one turn.
Yep.
You could quicken your create water and then cantrip freezing it and then let it fall on him. Yeah, oh my god. I love it, dude.
Find the damage for that. And
Oh yeah, is there like a damage for falling stuff on people's heads?
I don't know.
I need to confirm.
Similar to I would imagine it would be similar to fall damage.
Can you get crushed in D&D 5e?
I feel like that's. I mean, after you do that once, you're like, okay, every enemy you fight is from the 9 hells, and you drop it on him, and it just melts.
Nah. Because if he had enough heat energy coming off him to instantly melt a 5-foot cube of water, we've already melted to death in his presence.
No, it's magic, so it only affects things that touch him.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay? Like, that's completely just not even thinkable. That's exactly how it would work.
5e crushing damage. There doesn't seem to be. I know there was one a while back. I remember. Telekinesis. You can lift 1,000-pound object with telekinesis up to 60 feet in the air. So you could crush someone with you could Looney Tunes crush them with a piano, right? Actually, I don't know how much does a piano weigh compared to a 5-foot cube of ice. Chart would have an object doing
5-foot cube of ice that you would freeze would be 286 pounds. So if you had it way up there and you drop 300 pounds worth of ice on somebody's head.
A 30-foot drop of 300 pounds. 300 pounds, what you said?
Yeah.
Of ice. Yeah, dude. 1,000-pound object drops 60 feet on someone's head, according to this guy's not linking to where he's getting this from. 150 d6 of damage.
Yeah, I think that's somebody did the math, like based on fall damage, and that's what it would be roughly. But yeah, totally busted. I think that, oh man, how would you do that? Maybe since there's no like rule specifically written for that, and the way that you typically do it for other falling damage would be so you make a dex save and then take half the damage of the falling creature. But this is apparently a massive thing.
Apparently, in the DM, there's a table for improvised damage in the DMG, and it has, if you get hit by falling rubble in a collapsing tunnel, that's like 4d10. Crushed by compacting walls is 10d10. So I'm assuming getting smashed by a 300-pound object is probably closer to crushed by compacting walls. So there'd be some kind of dex DC, but if they fail it, they take 10d10 and get crushed by it.
I found another table for falling damage, and things that are 200 pounds or more, maximum damage is 20d6.
20d6?
But
that's like you impacting the ground, right?
I don't know. I did the math on fall damage, and instead of capping it at whatever the stupid, ridiculously low number is in the DMG,
I know. Yeah.
I figured it out and figured out terminal velocity of Earth and made it that.
See, you know what? You always give me a hard time for turbo nerding. That's a turbo nerd thing. You turbo nerded fall damage.
It came from that time in Michael's campaign when
know
when me and Francisco fell from like a mile up in the air, and we're like, and Francisco's like, "I'm okay," and just walked away. It's like, what?
He used like a special acrobatics feature and like, I took 4d6, no problem. What? You were nothing. You would have turned into a pile of goo on the ground if you hit it that hard, dude.
You would have hit and bounced up like a
Yeah.
Especially since he landed on a rock, not the dirt. So there was like no give at all.
Like people die from landing on water because surface tension is hard enough when you fall when you're going
to
fast,
crush you.
let alone on a solid. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure. I'm making this more, and I was like, how much more? I was like, well, I could probably just figure out terminal velocity, and I was like, okay, that's what we'll do.
So this guy is suggesting that stuff falling on it should like a big object falling on you, like 1,000-pound object. So we can kind of translate. He's saying somewhere around a DC-14 save at 66 damage or 60-10 damage. Even though that doesn't seem right, I guess it kind of does, because a lot of things that you think should kill people in D&D don't, right? Like if
like falling from
like falling from hundreds of feet in the air, or if me and you got hit by a 20-foot radius fireball or 20-foot diameter fireball, we'd probably die too in one hit. But it only does, however much it does.
I've been thinking about fireball a lot, and I don't think anymore I'm going to have it be concussive at all.
Not a blast, more like just fire.
Yeah, just a fireball, like a flamethrower, basically. It erupts out of a.
Is
point.
it concussive? Does it even say it's concussive?
No, it doesn't. But it says but like everyone treats it as such because they think of a pressure wave. But I think it's just like.
Like a ball of fire that just swirls around.
It doesn't catch anything.
I think it's fire. Because I know, and it doesn't catch anything on fire, which is no. Fireball does catch stuff on fire.
Does it?
Fireball does
it's
say
very
it casts
weird.
on fire.
Like
you look at fireball, I'll look at the other
fire.
one. I think it's
wall. Firewall.
Wall
I think it's
fire.
Wall of Fire is the one that doesn't.
Wall of Fire, man, that spell can be so good, but it can also get in the way so hardcore.
Yeah,
the fireball spreads around corners and ignites flammable objects in the area that aren't being worn or carried. So it does catch things on fire.
Okay, so it has to specifically state that. Wall of Fire doesn't say that anywhere in the spell. So you could cast Wall of Fire and not cast it on fire. That came up in Michael's campaign because I cast it on a ship, and he was like, "You're going to catch the sails on fire on your ship if you do that." And I was like, actually. And no, you wouldn't. Rules as written. And then he changed it after that fight to where it did because I'd already committed to the spell.
Yeah, I think that it should.
It should.
If it's doing damage, then it should catch things on fire that aren't worn. I see the not worn or carried because that's dumb. Like every time the fireball goes up, you're naked. Sorry.
Fireball would be the best thing ever. Oh, what kind of armor is he wearing? Oh, it's got an underlayment. I'm going to catch it all on fire. Oh, he's using a bow. I'll just burn the string. Let me shoot a fireball at the string of his bow so he didn't have a weapon. Yeah. Fireball an area. Get rid of everyone's stuff.
Yeah, if it takes damage, then I think it can catch on fire.
Is there's got to be rules
specifically says that it doesn't.
There's rules for breaking stuff, isn't there?
Breaking
walls and wood and
there's like general rules for like AC and hit points.
Uh-huh.
But it's all of it obviously is completely up to the DM, so they can decide how strong the wall is essentially.
So like 1,000-pound object falling on you from 60 feet in the air will do 10 D10 of damage to a person.
Mm-hmm.
But typically spells like Fireball does more to the stuff around it, I think, than it does to the person. Because it's a powerful spell, but a higher level person could eat a fireball no problem. Happened to me plenty of times. But if I wanted to blow up a building, I couldn't do that with Fireball. But I could drop 1,000-pound rock on top of a building and it would crush it, right?
Siege damage.
The siege damage.
How much damage would you rule that it did if it was your campaign, Eric?
What do you mean, a fireball or like 1,000-pound?
1,000-pound ice cube.
Well, it's not 1,000. The ice cube only weighs 300 pounds. It's telekinesis moves. Telekinesis moves 1,000 pounds, 60 feet in the air.
Is it only 300 pounds?
Joe said he looked it up. A 5-pound cube of ice is 300 pounds. I'll look it up again.
Only 300 pounds.
It's like 286.
5-foot cube of ice. Weight?
You're saying a cube of ice that's almost as tall as me.
No, sorry.
Every dimension.
He was way off. He was way off. It's 640 pounds.
You sure?
Yeah. Because it's a cube. and it's solid all the
square.
way
You
through.
said square feet versus cubic feet, right?
Yeah. I think it was. You might have said square feet instead of cubic feet.
No, I have cubic foot right here.
Well, who?
Weight of 5 cubic feet of ice.
Oh my god! Now we're like getting into the 5 foot cube. Okay, hold on. Okay. How much is a
That
5
can't be
foot
right.
cube
It
of
can't
ice?
weigh less than me if it's almost as
Whoa.
tall as me on every side.
I know.
Doesn't
I'm
seem
looking it up again. Okay, this whole website's just a big fat fucking scam. Sick.
All right.
Nothing like that, dude. Sorry, that's buoyancy. I said buoyancy. I don't know why it said that. How much does a cubic foot of ice weigh?
1 cubic foot of ice is
weighs
57.2
7.2
pounds.
pounds.
More than 5 pounds less than a cubic foot of water.
Yeah,
That's
because
another thing.
there's air trapped in it. Wait, if it freezes it instantly, does it have air trapped in it? Would it be a more dense ice? Would it be like ultra dense ice? Like,
Wait, why is it?
Huh?
Why is it way less?
I believe that we're getting into science stuff. I want to preface
We're getting
everything.
into science.
I want to preface right before I say this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a mathematician. I'm totally talking out my ass right now. I believe that ice weighs less than water because it's less dense than water, because when it freezes, it expands and
that's
like
it.
it's okay.
In the story, it expands.
Yeah, it
it's the same
expands.
amount of material.
Yeah.
But since you're measuring it at a set
Yeah.
dimension, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. So a 5 foot cube of water is like actually more water than a 5 foot cube of ice. So if you froze a 5 foot cube of ice, it would actually be a little more, right?
Yeah.
You're right. So it would be 5 pounds over.
If you froze a 5 cubic foot
of water.
thing of water, it would end up being bigger than 5 cubic feet.
Yeah, you're right. It would be bigger. How much does it expand? I'm not getting into that. I don't want to look this up anymore. But
well, what you find out is it actually expands to just slightly bigger than the room you're in, and the whole building comes down.
Yeah, it expands to where it crushes you against the side of the rock.
All right, 5 foot cube of ice. I've got a chart. Is this the? No, that's not the chart I'm looking for. A 5 by 5 by 11. 5 by no. 10 ba 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 ba. Okay, dude, I have no idea. We're gonna go with a 300 pounds because I don't want to keep looking this up while we're doing a podcast. All this has been just like out of nowhere. But listen, 300 pounds of ice is still a lot of ice to hit you in the head.
Yeah,
I think.
But I mean, I could bench press if I had to, and my life depended on it. I could bench press, or at least partly, a side of the 300 pounds of ice.
How much do you think you could bench?
I can bench. I did once bench my weight. So I don't know.
Let's assume you haven't traded.
I know it was a long time ago, but I maxed out at 275.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's say Joe can bench 275, or he can squat 275. Let's go with that, because you're going to be standing up. Usually, I'm assuming, when this ice comes down on you. If it's a 275 pound block, or even if it's a bar that you could ostensibly catch,
this is getting ridiculous.
There is no way that you are going to stop it before it smushes you.
I don't know. I bet Shiro could have stopped it.
No,
dude,
absolutely.
Heck yeah. You can carry so much weight in that game. In D&D, dude, I'm telling you, and especially if your strength is maxed out, like Vonic could easily, he could probably just one-hand it, like I got it.
Yeah.
I invoke my giantism, and now I just I deliver it like a pizza right back at them.
Oh my god!
But for like a halfling, yeah, I bet that thing just.
I bet you even Vonic,
over.
It would just smush him dead. Holy crap! Now I gotta. We might have to pause this for a second while I fix something.
I'm gonna look up what Vonic's carrying capacity is. So what was your? You never told me how much damage it would do in your campaign if you were to drop 1,000 pounds of something on someone?
If I were to drop, it's so weird because like I think if someone in my campaign independently came up with, I'm going to use telekinesis to kill someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one, I feel like most players don't come up with that kind of stuff. So if someone came up with it on the spot, I'd let it happen one time. If you pull this off, you will kill the thing you drop it on, especially if it's just a person. You know, some guy across the room's like, "Oh, you're a dickhead," and you're like, "Oh yeah," bam, drop a rock on him, and you can do it without him seeing it. That's another thing. Can you do it without them seeing it? It's a 1,000-pound object. It's not going to be small. I don't know, unless you have a gigantic cube of tungsten or something.
It's just a spoonful of a neutron star. How much damage does it do as it goes back and forth through the planets?
It would just create a black hole and kill us all.
Vonic's carrying capacity, do you have a guess?
His carrying, it's double the normal, right? It's like 600 pounds for my guy, isn't it?
660 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
He's catching that easy.
Yeah, you're catching that.
He's like, and he's taking a bite of it and throwing it back.
I don't think so. I think like
here's the thing. That's your carrying capacity. You can push, drag, or lift 1,320 pounds.
Dude.
I don't think Eddie Hall could catch a 300-pound ball falling straight on him from 30 feet in the air. That's a tremendous amount of force. Like it's unreal how much force that is. It's way more than 1,000 pounds of force.
I'm gonna find out.
To the internet.
To the internet. Yeah, like I think like that's so much. Like Eddie Hall can deadlift what, like 1,100 pounds or whatever that he did, that world record. I saw that thing where it like translated it over, and he has more strength than a red dragon in D&D rules because of that.
So, okay, free fall energy and velocity. And the free fall distance. Mass is, let's go with pounds, 300 pounds. Fall free of a distance of 30 feet.
Okay.
Is that what we said?
Yeah, 30 feet or 60 feet.
Execute. So. I don't know how to read this.
Lit.
Oh man, I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to read this at all.
Okay, well, the thing that I found, the force that it would cause whenever it is falling, it would be, it's at least over 1,800 pounds, because this thing only reads up to 1,800 pounds, and it said it's over that. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like something falling is a lot of energy. Like it's pretty nuts, dude.
Yeah, from 30 feet though, you would at least have a chance to move.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have to lift the whole thing. You could just deflect most of it and be able to sneak out. I think
getting out of the way like a deck save, that's one thing, but I don't think like anything else, and that's bad juju. Like you're just if you don't get out of the way, you're dead.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
If you drop 1,000-pound cube of stone on someone and they didn't roll out of the way, yeah, they're going to be in the ground. They will become part of ground because it will crush them.
I mean, there are people that survive like building collapses and stuff. They usually, I mean, if they don't die immediately, they generally do die later of crush syndrome, but they survive for a time. And with D&D magic, you could.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. You could potentially survive. I mean, it doesn't even matter because you can bring people back to life. Like if I have a strand of their hair, I mean, if you have wish or true resurrection, you can only have like all you have to have is a memory of the person. So even if they got vaporized by the heat of the sun, I could bring them back. You know,
it's like Wolverine.
Yeah, it's like wait, no, Wolverine would die.
There was I don't read comics. I just know this like from a friend who did.
Oh,
He's like, no,
God.
there was like actually a comic where Wolverine got thrown into the sun, but Phoenix got his adamantium skeleton out of it, and he regenerated himself.
That is some horse shit, dude. Nah.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go Wolverine.
Is that a D&D thing? Are we getting a little too off case? By the way, Wolverine's skeleton would melt in the sun. I'm sure.
That's I mean, it's a comic book thing, which is by its own rules again, just like D&D.
Okay. You know
They
what?
say that once you have to like figure out a formula to melt it, and once it hardens after that, it's like almost impossible to melt again. That's what they
Okay.
say.
If we're getting into like fantasy adjacent comic book bullshit, there is a one-liner thing in one of the Wonder Woman Superman, or I think it was just a Wonder Woman comic. I can't remember exactly which one it was. One of the books, I think, one of the like the full like novel ones that they released.
Okay.
Where she kind of offhandedly says, "Oh, someone asked her about her sword, and she kind of offhandedly, this sword is so sharp, it splits atoms in half." That
don't wave it through the air.
Yeah, don't wave it through the air because moving it would cause lightning. If you dropped it on the ground, it would instantly drop all the way to the hilt with no resistance. There is nothing in existence that sword could not cut in half with no effort whatsoever.
It's like a
Sounds like a
nuclear
good
bomb
sword.
every time you move it.
Yeah. It sits in a rock because that's the only place that's safe for it. Because not even Superman could survive that. Cut Superman's head off, no problem. No effort. Superman flying at you, hold the sword in front of you, and it'll split him like a
You know
banana.
who would survive it?
Who?
Wolverine, because he
Yep, that's
regenerated.
Could he?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, he could.
That's the whole point of his character.
Yeah.
If you destroy his... Okay. He'd lose all his memories, though. No problem.
In fact, each half would regenerate, and you'd have two Wolverines to fight. How do you feel about that?
He regenerates from the
He'd just
waist
be
up.
back to the wooden,
Yeah,
the
like
bone one on half.
Is that what we're gonna do? Okay, so
Yeah.
in D&D, let's rope this back around to D&D.
Please, yes. This got off track.
This got off track hard. If you cut me in half and then cast True Resurrection on both my halves, or Resurrection on both my halves, how does Resurrection work? I need to look.
Your soul has to be willing, so you wouldn't be able to make two versions of yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing that people don't really do. I think they've done it. They did it once in Critical Role, but it was like, no, I don't want to come back.
Yeah,
So they had to like talk to him and convince him to.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of like abusing spells, Wish is another easily abusable spell. And I mean, it is a level. Yeah, I know. Woo. It is a level 20 spell, but being able to like do what I did, which is you could. Well, not just level 9 spell. You could totally avoid the ramifications of Wish. Wish has a built-in like ramification system. You want to wish that everyone in the world's dead? You can do that, but there's a chance you die, right? Or that you never cast Wish ever again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you can just avoid those ramifications by making the little clone of yourself and being like, hey, clone, cast this really messed up wish. And he tries it. And if it hurts him, it doesn't hurt you. And you could totally just avoid all problems with Wish.
I think that if that comes up, well, I don't know, you guys.
It's not going to come up. Probably
will ever be that level in my campaign. But if it were to come up in my campaign, I think I would rule that the simulacrum has an empty 9th level spell slot.
Yeah,
I think is how I would rule it.
Or
because
just that
you use Wish to cast it, and since it's exactly like you, its 9th level is used.
It gets simulacrum's built in like abuse avoider is that it can only cast, it can't ever rest. Right. Once the spells are cast, they're gone. Mm-hmm. So if it uses all its level 3 spell slots or level 5 spell slots, it's never getting them back. It's a one-time use.
Right.
It's just that Wish is so powerful. You're like, hey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it were to come up in my campaign, I think that it would come up having an empty 9th level spell slot. You wouldn't be able to use a 9th level spell slot.
Is simulacrum, does it? Oh, God dang it. Now I need to look into it again. Simulacrum. Oh,
what was your question about it?
I want to read the actual wording again, just so I can be sure about whether this would work or not. Shaper illusion. Oh, duplicate of one beast. Okay, so I could break that rule you just made
Okay.
because simulacrum, you shape an illusory duplicate of one beast or humanoid that is within range. So it doesn't have to be me. If there's another level 20 wizard somewhere in the world, I could go to him. And actually, I could just make a copy of a level 20 wizard somewhere else. I wouldn't even have to be level 20, right?
Yeah.
Simulacrum's level 7. So if I know of a level 20 wizard and I'm like, oh, hey, man, what's up? Simulacrum. And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, Simulacrum, wish for him to die. And the
The switch on the wall.
What's that wizard over there doing? And you're like, nothing. Wish for him to be dead. And the other wizard's like, no. Oh, man.
No wizards have ever had a 9th level spell then.
No 9th
You're
level
the first
spells
one
at all.
Sorry.
There aren't very many 9th level spells, right?
No, because like Wish does all of them essentially.
I think there's like 5, but it's like dumb not to take Wish. Spell
I think
level.
right.
Right.
There's the mass heal is really good for clerics since they don't get Wish.
It's so good.
Yeah. But there are
Astral Protection, Blade of Disaster, Foresight Gate,
Foresight
Imprisonment.
is actually super cool spell, but it does not need to be 9th level spell.
There's a lot of divination stuff that seems like it would be really cool, but it's really dependent on your DM and your setting.
Time Stop, really cool spell.
Oh man, yeah. You can get a bunch of spells off with Time Stop.
Yep.
You could also use Invulnerability. It means you're just totally, completely immune to all damage for 10 minutes and just whack the hell out of whatever you're fighting. Mass Heal, Mass Polymorph, Meteor Swarm, which is more about blowing up buildings than people. Powered Heal, Powered Kill, There's way more than I thought. Prismatic Wall, Psychic Scream, Ravenous Void. Is that a new one? You create
that's a Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. That is a Graviturgy wizard only.
Okay. Shape Change, Storm of Vengeance. I haven't seen this one either. Is this new?
That's basic rules. That's been there forever. That's Druid though only.
That's why I haven't seen it. I've never even come close to having to think about Druid 9th level slots in 5e. This sounds like really cool. This sounds like a cool thematic thing. I've always wanted to make a wizard or a wizard or a druid or something that controls the weather, but there's just not a lot of we're gonna save like themed builds for a whole episode and kind of talk about some themed builds, but I think it's harder to do themed builds around spells because there just aren't that many spells of the same type other than fire.
I agree with that. You have to. I mean, you could work with your DM to do that, to use a lot of those same spells. Like, oh well, I want to be an ice wizard though. Like, okay, you can use a lot of those spells, and then but when you write them in your book, they do ice damage. Like we started to do that with yours, and then just kind of it was lackluster somewhat. So, but because we could do like an ice fireball where you just shoot it out and it bursts out shards of ice from the fireball.
I think the way to do it would be to get with your DM and not just be like it's a fireball, but it hits them with cold stuff instead of hot stuff. It would have to be like a full kind of where the player goes, here's what I want to do. I want fireball, but it does this type of damage, and this is how it's going to look, and this is how it'll behave. It's fireball, but a cloud shows up and does something, right? If
this is how you get your ice drop. Instead of fireball, you drop a giant sheet of ice on in a 20-foot section.
That does way more damage than fire. I'm an ice wizard. Yeah, I don't hit them with fireball. I summon a block of ice above them and drop it on them, and it does 10d6 or whatever right away. Like it's the stealthy way to kill. No sound until it hits the ground, dude. But any other easily abusable spells? We've been on this topic now for a while.
There's so many. Like that
so
would
many.
take That would take many episodes to go
Yeah, you're
through
right.
this.
You're right.
Good. That's good.
This
Content.
episode has
lots and lots of content.
this episode went off the rails so hard. Oh
it
my
did.
god, I love it. This one wasn't even about rules. It was just about having a good time, baby. Because we've already filled this whole hour.
Yeah. Well, not quite. We started a little after.
Do we want to maybe touch on the main character syndrome thing, which was
I don't think
supposed
that will take too long. So
Yeah, I don't think it'll take it too long. Let's hit that one. Main character syndrome.
For those of you who don't know,
Oh yes.
There.
For those of you, yeah. Main character syndrome in D&D. I don't actually. Is there a real definition for this, or is this just something that like we've made up? Main character.
I'm sure other people know. People who play D&D a lot, I'm sure know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you haven't played D&D a lot, you may not.
It's like you have a party, and for whatever reason, it can seem or feel like you are the main character of the story. Everything revolves around your character. Now, there's like multiple facets to why this is. It could be very well be that your story maybe is just the predominant big one and the campaign is moving in that direction. Especially in like a homebrew campaign, it can definitely feel like you're the main character even more. But even modules are written to make your characters feel like the heroes. Now, your interaction with the campaign, I think, is what changes this the most. If you're the only person in the group who's talking to NPCs in like a role play kind of way, or you're the only one getting anything done, all your other people are just there to roll dice to punch people, and you're there to roll dice to whisper sweet nothings into the DM's ear. It's going to make you feel like the main character because everyone's like, oh, this guy wants to talk to us about how he's going to end the world. Hey, Frank, can you come up here and take care of this? I'm not punching him. I don't even want anything to do with this. So that can make you feel like the main character. What are you guys' thoughts on main character syndrome, and how do you avoid? Like, you want to give every player their moment in the sun, or even a few sessions, or maybe a session every now and then. Everyone gets like a character episode, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe. What do you think?
I think that's the thing. Like, as a DM, you gotta kind of balance that. You gotta find a way to make sure everyone feels like they have their times to shine, and because you are gonna have there's no way to get around certain parts. Certain characters are gonna feel like the main. That's the big thing about backstories. There's gonna be times where you're exploring that character's backstory, so of course he's gonna be
the main character
in those moments, but you have to be able to find those lines and make it still feel like everybody's included, and maybe like you throw in this person's backstory is kind of connected into this certain way, or this is just to find different things to help include everyone into their story too.
Yep.
That's about right.
I think that you like it's where it becomes tough is when you have players that are just there for combat to roll dice, that don't talk a lot otherwise. That's when it's harder to do.
Yeah.
You can still do it a little bit by like, oh, this thing you're fighting is like vulnerable to the exact thing you do in combat.
And
resistant to everyone else. It's amazing.
It's amazing how you kill everything every single time, and I don't allow anyone else to do anything. But that's bad DMing. That's not like.
Well, I wouldn't say for everything, but like if you have a player who's like never talks and is only there, like only does things during combat, that is a way to make them feel like a main character for the night, is to have an enemy that they are super good at killing and the rest of the party is not doing very well.
But I think there's also I think that main character syndrome also kind of leads into the other topic that he wanted us to cover, which is like how to be a better player in DM. Man, this episode went from like fun times to serious times. How to be a better player is, in the simplest terms ever, how to avoid main character syndrome, or how to avoid feeling like you're not getting enough out of it, is if you know what you're there for, just don't be a dickhead. And if you want to have more fun or try to be the main character, engage with the story a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that's all it boils down to.
Role play heavy. Try to lean into role play, because that will really help you And it'll help keep it from seeming like one character is the main character if everyone is
If you're
role
trying
playing
to,
at a decent amount throughout
if you're
the
trying to
campaign.
interact with the story, it won't feel so much like one person's doing everything. Because if only one person is interacting with the story, it is definitely going to feel that way.
And I could see as a DM, if you only have one guy that is like engaging with NPCs and like talking to people, it's kind of hard to just force it on other people to role play and like do those kinds of things if they don't want to.
Yeah.
No. And I mean, that's assuming that your DM is willing to role play, right? I'm sure there are some DMs out there that are not role play heavy. In
But
which case, the main character is just like his best friend because that's
I'll
the
say
person he
this.
knows who to talk to the best.
I'll say this. I have played in multiple groups where role play is not even in the ballpark, aside from someone going, ho, 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 I order a beer. Is there any winches in the bar? You know, like that kind of like super jokey, maybe not fully appropriate kind of stuff. But when you're in a group that is all about the combat, you don't have to worry about role playing. One, because no one does it. And you don't have to worry about main character syndrome because there's not a story to be a main character of. And every session is like just, if it's not one huge fight, it's 4 fights chained back to back, only split up by the long rest that took you 2 seconds. Oh, we're in this dungeon. We've killed 30 things. Oh, we're going to need a long rest. Let's just do it in this room and nothing will walk through the doors to hurt us because we're just like chaining together our cool spells and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when and depending on how it's DM'd, like if your character to NPC interactions are boiled down to, I want to talk to this person to figure out the information I need. Okay, roll a persuasion check, and then you did or did not make it. The end.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah,
I think in those situations, you kind of have to be like, okay, what do you say? And if they don't say anything, it's like, okay, he says no.
Yeah, I mean that's again, it depends on your group. Like if no one wants to role play, then sure. Go for it. That sounds super boring to me, but to each his or her own or their own. But it's all up to the group. It's up to the group.
There's no main character syndrome.
Do a session 0. It helps. Yeah. Just do it, please.
Just do it. How to be a better player. Don't be a dickhead. How to avoid main character syndrome. Engage with the story, people. That's all you gotta do. I don't even think we need to dive into it much more than that. Right?
There's some nuance to being a good player, I think.
What do you think?
Yeah, the big thing is obviously just don't be an ass. Don't take away from when it's someone else's time to shine. Don't try to butt in. I feel like I'm on the verge of doing that a lot, which is a thing I'm trying to work on. But
I feel the same way.
Like I want to interact with this person too. But I think a big part of it is just showing up and being enthusiastic. Like
being stoked to be there.
Just being like not unhappy to be there. Like we talked about this already, Eric. And we're over it now. But like those first few sessions of my first campaign.
Listen, I was just bitter about the world, not that campaign.
I know. But when you would show up and it seemed like it was a chore for you, it was like, why are you here then?
It was a chore for me at that time, dude. I was like, I was a bad D&D player at that time.
There you go.
But
so
now I'm fine.
If you don't want to be there, then talk to your DM about why you don't want to be there. And if you can't fix it, don't be there.
Don't be there. Is that all right? I think there's a lot of people who like very desperately want to play D&D but can't get a group together. So you're staying together for the kids, you know what I mean? You're like, you're like, I will show up no matter what. And you show up and I fucking hate all of you people, but I'm rolling this dice.
Yeah, I mean that's I haven't experienced that because both of the groups that I'm in have been great as far as continuing being there every week.
You came in at a good time on Friday. You came in at like towards the part where we had warmed up to role playing. So by the time you joined, you didn't really even have that like combat heavy style of play that I'm so accustomed to.
Yeah, I was curious as to how much was there before I showed up because I came in. I was like, I'm doing a voice. I'm talking to everyone.
We were doing it, but like in the beginning, it was pretty minimal, and it kind of built over time.
Yeah,
and
that's another thing with new players. Give people time to get comfortable. And
if you're out there,
and when they start to role play, compliment them on the role play. Let them know that they're doing an awesome job, even if it sucks. They're getting into it. They're trying to do more. Compliment people.
Let me do this again. How to be a good D&D player? Be a good person. Like you get you gotta like give people a little bit of leeway. If you're an experienced player with an unexperienced group, like what Joe just said, you got to do that. But if you're all inexperienced players, you got to just be stoked. You got to be stoked to be there. You got to be ready to go. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. And like what I had touched on in a previous episode when I was talking about punching kids is like the parts I'm not interested in, I don't need to have input on. If my character, I can just like let it happen and it doesn't detract from what I want to do. And if you're out there and you like to punch people or it's stabby stab, that's what you got to do. You just got to let the role play happen. Now, it can be sometimes very boring when an entire session is not about you and you're just sitting there and you're like, I could have done something else for this 3 hours. I wish the DM would have been like, oh, hey, by the way, today's entire session, you're not even going to be part of it. Or for the first hour and a half, we don't even need you. I wish I could. There are occasions, even now, I'm patient. I'm a lot more patient than I used to be. But I do wish sometimes one of you guys would be like, we're not even going to need you for the first hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And that way I could just be like, all right, see you at 10 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but the first thing that's going to happen if that happens, you're going to come back and go, all right, what's going on? And then we're going to have to rehash the hour and a half.
It's
now
the thing about like I kind of like those sessions for a little bit because they are I like watching how those characters are developing. So I know like if my character does this, then there's a good chance that there's going to be some interactions there that will be interesting. And also with we're not going to need you. We never know because let's say that I know that the next session is going to be heavy for a certain character.
Yeah,
I can say that, but if that character chooses your character to confide in during that, then it's suddenly very you heavy as well. I can't control that.
In the situation, I mean like this. There has been 2 situations so far where, like, not only was I not involved in what was going on as far as like, it's not my story, so I'm not interacting with it. My character isn't even there. So my character shouldn't know what's going on. And like, isn't it better for roleplay if I show back up and I'd be like, so guys, what's up? And I don't know anything about what's going on.
It depends. Like it depends on how much time you want to spend. Because if we've already spent like an hour having this super long dialogue, then I can just be like, I fill him in on everything instead of having to say all that over.
I think another big thing.
I think I very quickly just convinced myself that showing up, but like if my character isn't there, muting everyone in the server until someone sends me a message. That way I'm truly ignorant of everything that I don't know about. Because I find it hard to separate the metagamey part of my head where I'm like, why don't you just do this? And it's like, you weren't even there. From across the town, I'm like, just buy it.
If you have a hard time separating that, then yeah, I can see that. But the big advantage is that we don't have to literally like fill your character in. We can say, I fill him on everything that happened. Instead of being like, okay, let me sit you down so I can say this entire dialogue.
We had an hour and a half to just talk. Here comes another hour.
It's only happened a couple of times because in those couple of times I was like in the middle of something when D&D started and I was like, I'm going to stop this and I'll get back to it. But I know myself and it's hard to pick back that momentum back up. And I'm like, I could have just worked on this for another hour.
Okay, so quick potential last question. Do you look for, as far as what you look for in a good player, does it differ when you're a DM and when you're a player?
I haven't had any outright bad players, I don't think. I think my like more loose view of what I think players should be allowed to do has kind of made it to where it's every character's kind of okay. If someone is like, I'm going to play a thief and I'm going to steal from the party all the time, it's like, I'm going to pull you aside and be like, listen, man, you can steal from the party all you want, but if they kill you, I'm not going to stop them from killing you.
You can't be upset if the party retaliates.
Yeah, if you're being a
You're
dick to
doing
the
stuff
party,
like that.
yeah, you're not a bad player necessarily. I mean, unless you're acting like a dick towards people. But if you're going to do something like that, that's fine. In my eyes, that's totally fine. If a player wants to try that kind of stuff, awesome. But you also have to be the kind of person who doesn't get mad at other people about what happens in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that should go without saying. You can't just like do all the things that would make all these other characters mad and expect everything to be cool if they find out.
Well, they're gonna find out, right? And like
Who
I've
knows?
definitely heard the stories of like I think you told me the story, right, Joe? Of someone shaving someone's head.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was you.
We had this fighter dwarf in our party, and I joined the group late, and I was like a 17-year-old rogue kid who's just like played pranks on people. And while he was sleeping, he was like he had a lot of pride in his beard, and I shaved half his face whenever he was asleep. And I rolled fine, he didn't wake up or anything, didn't see it. Well, his character comes out in the morning. He's like, "What's going on? What's wrong with my face?" And he tried to intimidate the whole party to find out who did it. Well, nobody knew, so they all were like, "It wasn't us, it wasn't me." And whenever he got to me, I rolled a natural 20 to deceive him, so he didn't know. I got away with it. Well, for the rest of the time that we were playing, he was like just an outright dick to my character all the time, like mess with my character, even though he has no idea, and he thinks, and his character has to think that I was being truthful, that I did not shave his beard when I said that. But for the rest of the campaign, he was just being, "Oh, well, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do this to you. I'm not helping you on this." And it's like,
That's an example of a bad player.
you're metagaming here. You don't
I
know.
want to go through that a little bit because given like even if you, how would a natural 20 work on that? Especially if you're a new character to the group, you have been adventuring with these other people that you know and trust. Suddenly you pick up this new guy the next day, or I mean, this
I
isn't
had been
necessarily
in the group for like a couple months.
okay.
So I was like integrated, and I wasn't like messing with them at the time. I had done no pranks. This was the first one.
Was there like an explanation from your DM as to what may to make him think what may have happened?
No, he had no idea.
That was just
That was the thing. You wake up, half your beard's missing. You have no idea what happened.
I feel like he should have like an explanation. Like your DM says, roll an intelligence check, and then says these are the possible explanations given what you know. That way he doesn't like because it's hard for people to separate from their character sometimes. So I feel like that's what I would have done. I would have said, roll an intelligence check, 10. It's possible that there was some sprite in the middle of the night that came and did it. It could have been some sort of magic from someone that you don't know. And give some different reasons so that he's like, then his character has a thing where he's constantly on the lookout for someone that might shave his beard rather than letting it go completely and like, oh, guess I don't know. I'll keep going.
The part of this that is bad player is like obviously him, the person, knows exactly what happened, and he's using that metagame knowledge to punish the person who did it.
Yeah,
that's a bad that's a bad D&D player.
Yeah,
is everyone guilty of that at some point? Absolutely.
Of metagaming, yes. You can't play D&D.
No, yeah, metagaming. Yes, yeah. You can always everyone metagames. Nobody is truly like a true non-metagamer.
We've talked about this a bit before. If you wouldn't want to play without a little bit of metagaming, because I mean, your adventurers, your players have to know that if they go into some dungeon or something, there is a reason to go there, or it's going to something interesting is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Something good potentially will happen. Whereas if you are no metagaming, like you come upon this cave, don't care about that. Here we go.
Yeah. never even. Why would I go into a cave? That's boring. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah, normal metagaming is fine, but when you're using it to punish someone for something that your character shouldn't know.
Yeah, I agree. That is not the mark of a good player.
Yeah.
What I look for in good players from a player perspective is I want the other players to be able to like role play with me, right? If I choose to talk to them, what I'm looking for is for them to be able to be like in their character, speak to my character. I think that's what I want most out of other players. As
Yeah.
a DM, I just want them to interact with the story in the world.
Yeah. If the bar is that low, then like it's like me. The bar is pretty low.
Yeah.
The bar is extremely low.
And don't be a dick is just that's how to be a good person. I don't be a good person first, be a good player second.
No, unless you are a dick, and then you use D&D to correct your ways and become a good person. See?
Yeah, it's D&D is therapy. That should have been the name of the podcast. D&D is therapy.
That's the name of the second half of this podcast.
There you go.
I think the name of this podcast is going to be Tides of Chaos Incarnate. Oh, man. Well, all right, boys. I think we're at the end of this one. Turns out we didn't need as many topics as we thought.
Yep.
We just needed to
breaking spells is too much.
Riff about breaking some spells, and then talk about comic books for a little while, and then loop it back around. Then loop it back around to some serious time.
What are we doing next week? Do we have something for next week?
I don't.
Is it going to be another
themed
mini
characters?
topics, or is it going to be?
Oh, we can do themed characters next week. Yep.
Okay.
So theme a character, bring it next week, and we'll talk about how to make it work. How about that?
Okay.
I think that could be a recurring episode right there.
I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Even if we'll all come up with one, and then if we don't get around to it, that's fine. Like one person, next person. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right.
Sound good? Sounds
good.
All right.
Next week, themed characters. And I'm sure that maybe in a future episode, we'll come back around to, I'm sure breaking spells will be a pretty common theme as well.
No,
never would I think about dropping a 300-pound block of ice on someone. Also, if you're out there and you know how much a block of ice weighs and you want to tell me, if you want to do the math without me having to look it up during the D&D, awesome. Send me a message. You can watch us. I always plug on the D&D streams. I'll plug the D&D streams now.
Hey.
You can watch us play D&D Monday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/Deft and Dorky for the Monday one. And then Friday, we play at 8:30 Central Time, twitch.tv/Nookrium. That's when we reference Friday campaign, when we reference Monday campaign. If we're referencing Monday campaign, the DM's here. I can just ask him any questions I want. If we're referencing the Friday campaign, that's it. Go there, watch them. I'm sure all of you that are listening are either from one of those two places. So,
both of those things have YouTube channels as well.
Oh yeah, and if you want to watch the VODs, youtube.com/DeftandDorky.
Nope, that isn't it.
Oh, you don't have a custom URL for yours?
Nope, but you can go to deftandorky.com and it has links to everything.
There you go. You can go to deftandorky.com and you can get a full breakdown of every character, where it is and where the VODs are. And as far as the Friday campaign, I'm sure he doesn't have a custom URL either, but it's Nookrium Inc.
No, he does. He definitely does. He has like actual.
No. It's not on his main channel.
Oh, right. Nookrium Inc. Yeah. He may still.
Inc.
I don't know.
Nookrium or Nookrium Inc. It's on one of those places. I don't watch the VODs. Sorry. I'll look it up for next time and I'll plug it at the end.
There you go. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.